So this is an excellent combination. It's probably my favorite build. Very rugged, very durable. The LS3 is used in racing around the world, Baja, KOH, you name it. Parts are available readily. They're easy to mod. If you ever wanted to do tuning to an LS3, it's available. This LS3 now it was released in 2010, so it's going on 8 years old, 7 years old. So the aftermarket has matured. Camshafts, blowers, custom tunes, it's out there. Now the Gen 5 motors are up and coming and all that's going to be available. But right now it's there for the LS3. LS3 is really the pinnacle of the American V8. Overhead valve, simple. Basically this engine is a very updated version of the small block Chevy that was released back in the mid-1950s. Of course, roller camshafts and roller rockers and combustion chamber technology, high compression. So it's about the simplest engine you're going to put in a JK right now. Simpler than a Hemi, simpler than adding a supercharger. It is rugged, it is reliable, it has good longevity. Now I will say one of the critical factors in all that is running the proper tune. If you take an LS3 and you tweak it to get 500 horsepower and you run it hard and you are not running an OE calibration, you're eliminating the hot protection modes, the oil aeration modes, and you may not get the lifespan out of an LS3 that a production tune will. And that's why we are so devoted to the OE GM production tunes, because it's not just all about performance, it's about making the engine last and reliability. When you're out in the middle of nowhere, if you start running hot, you want the operating system to take over and go into a protection mode. There's also failure modes, such as if you lose an injector or a coil, the operating system will pick that up and default to a limp mode so you can drive out of there. Now this also depends on the proper hardware and wiring and harnesses. If you do not have the proper ground distribution and power distribution and calibration in place, you're going to be missing those modes. You're going to be out in the middle of nowhere. You can lose one ground wire and the whole vehicle goes down. So having those redundancies, having those built-in safeties is critical, especially in an off-road vehicle, and that's something that we have strived to do. We can make it simpler. We can eliminate circuits. We can use over-the-counter hot rod tunes, which a lot of shops do, but there's a downside to all that, and that's why we do things the way we do, and we will continue to do things the way we do. Now I will say we are moving in a direction of simplifying the install, because the install, when you include all of this, when you have a full network and you have these modules and wiring, it can get a little bit daunting. So we are moving in a direction of simplifying things as much as we can while maintaining full functionality. And if you look at our install today versus 8 years ago, it's a whole different world. Our install now is down to the level of a Hemi without all the hardware modifications. We don't have to cut the firewall or turn the batteries or change the suspension or any of that. Now back to this build. This is a 2010 JKU, and it's got some miles on it, 130, 140,000 miles. Perfect candidate for a swap. The 3.8 was wearing out or worn out, and the guy obviously likes his Jeep. Actually, I think in this case it's the girl. And putting an LS in it completely transforms the vehicle, not only into something you can enjoy every day and not worry about merging onto the highway in Texas, but it's going to make this JK run for another 200,000 miles trouble-free. It's not going to burn oil. It's not going to overheat. It's going to handle the way it's supposed to handle. The cruise control works awesome. So if you're in Colorado going up the grades, or you're in Oregon or Washington, some of the highways are with a 6-cylinder, it's very difficult to negotiate those roads. This LS3 is going to sail up those roads like they're not even hills. May downshift one gear or so, but it's going to be a whole different experience. So the end result is going to be you're going to be able to enjoy it. And because the way we do things, because the way we include the full network and the full monitoring and emissions, you can pretty much be sure that not only are you going to be protected by the safety of the factory operating system, but emissions compliance when it comes around into your jurisdiction. Now, it may not be in your jurisdiction now, but if you ever decide to sell your vehicle, it's on you. Tampering is a federal crime. If you aren't in an emissions area now, getting your vehicle certified is the best thing to do, because you'd be grandfathered in, and then you just go through the inspection process, whatever your state has, and you're legal. You have no worries for registration. Trying to get around emissions is going to become more difficult as time goes on, and there might be areas where a V8 will not be legal. But right now, there's an opportunity to do these V8 swaps, get them certified, keep them on the road legally, and that's what we strive for. There's a lot of ambiguity in emissions laws depending on the referee or the inspector. I was an emissions inspector level 2 for 20 years, and I can tell you that really what it comes down to is the knowledge of that inspector. And you can see a vehicle that's completely compliant that will be declined because that technician has no idea what he's doing. I've also seen many vehicles passed that have no business passing. They're not even running the proper operating systems, or hacked. They're hacked operating systems. There's monitors been removed, but they're cracking down on that. California, Arizona, Nevada have cracked down on it, and we're seeing that with our own swaps. I'm dealing more with emissions labs. We're having to set monitors for customers so they can get these vehicles passed at their local emissions lab, and I'm seeing this enforcement being stepped up. So you might as well stay legal. I'm going to wheel this thing, and we'll be back.